Excellencies, distinguished participants, colleagues, and friends, as Chair and on behalf of the UN Working Group on Business and Human Rights, I am delighted to welcome you to this year's forum. The theme of this year's forum is towards effective change in implementing obligations, responsibilities, and remedies. The Working Group has the pleasure of guiding and chairing this forum as part of our mandate to promote the implementation of the UN Guiding Principles on Business and Human Rights, which we like to refer to as the UNGPs. This is the 12th forum, and it is taking place just before the 75th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. We are pleased to see so many new and already familiar faces here in person. We are most pleased that the event continues to attract such a large and diverse group of people from around the world, as well as those who are following us online through the UN Web TV. I would like to thank all the speakers that are taking part in discussions, and I warmly welcome you all. I particularly pay tribute to human rights defenders, indigenous peoples representatives, and trade union representatives who have come from all regions to share their experiences. Here today are representatives of governments, businesses, community groups and civil society, law firms, investor organizations, UN and international organizations, national human rights institutions, trade union, and the academia. We welcome you all for all showing leadership in your respective fields and for being willing to share your perspectives and to take part in dialogue in order to find solutions to some of the most pressing and difficult questions facing our world. We all know how important it is to move from commitments to concrete action, and that in many places the three pillars of the UNGPs, protect, respect, and remedy, still need to move from paper to practice. More and more businesses, including investors, are recognizing their corporate responsibility to respect human rights and are implementing human rights due diligence. Nevertheless, as the High Commissioner already mentioned, unprincipled business practices continue to generate preventable human suffering, undermining and impeding inclusive and sustainable development, and fueling widespread inequalities. Linked to those practices, we are seeing attacks and killings of human rights defenders. People defending land rights and environmental rights in the context of logging, agribusiness, the fast-moving consumer goods sector, infrastructure projects, extractive industries, and other key economic sectors play a critical role in identifying and mitigating human rights risk and should be seen and treated by states and businesses as partners for good, not as the enemy. Yet, speaking up against business-related risks and impacts remains a risk worldwide. The targeting of defenders also includes judicial harassment, such as through strategic lawsuits against public participation, which are aimed at silencing defenders. Business practices that fuel climate change and environmental degradation, coupled with state inaction, are generating unimaginable suffering for individuals and communities. Furthermore, systemic obstacles to people's equal access to opportunities, services, and resources, including decent work, are exacerbating a growing mistrust of the institutions on which we all depend. More than 12 years after the adoption of the UNGPs, the need for effective change remains ever so pressing. The UNGPs provide a clear and authoritative roadmap for a global economy in which human rights are protected and respected, and which delivers a just, peaceful, and sustainable future for all. First and foremost, Governments need to meet their existing obligations to protect, respect, and fulfill human rights and fundamental freedoms. We welcome a number of positive developments in this regard, especially the development of new and revision of existing national action plans on business and human rights. These plans remain a vital step towards implementation of the UNGPs. We also welcome legal developments requiring human rights due diligence by business enterprises to prevent adverse impact on people, including from within their value chains. Legislation is often the strongest driver of responsible business practices and the enabler of a crucial level playing field that makes it harder for business enterprises to ignore their responsibility to respect human rights. Business enterprises and investment institutions have been calling for more effective government action, recognizing that business benefits from clarity on what government expects from them in their domestic and overseas operations. What is needed is sustained, coherent policy and legislative action. This includes legislation that meets international human rights and labor standards to protect workers and affected communities at home and abroad. It should also include effective policies, regulation, adjudication, economic incentives, guidance, and promotion of dialogue amongst relevant actors. However, policy coherence remains a big challenge in many places. We should use this forum to unpack, in this precious multi-stakeholder space, the existing gaps and challenges and develop a common vision for the way forward. We should listen especially closely to the voices of right holders, as their voices should guide any regulatory development and incentives to promote responsible business and corporate accountability, particularly for the most marginalized individuals and communities. Accountability as a tool of prevention can, when taken seriously, help businesses to improve processes and to ensure its own sustainability. Remediating harm and engaging openly and honestly with those who have been harmed is a key element of being a responsible business. Therefore, increasing the pace of realizing better prevention and remediation of adverse impacts should be our priority. The working group has consistently called on states and business to lead by example. We reiterate that call with a renewed demonstration of political will to use the UNGPs as the key tool to prevent harm and ensure accountability amidst the multiple crises facing the world. We all know the steps that should be taken and that we have not yet seen enough action. The purpose of this forum is to offer a platform for all voices to contribute to collective discussion about the existing gaps and challenges and to develop a common vision on the way forward. Such multi-stakeholder dialogue is essential to the work of the forum. The participation of human rights defenders as well as the youth in this forum is very important. The forum must remain a safe and inclusive space for constructive dialogue by all stakeholders without discrimination or intimidation. Let me end by extending our deepest gratitude to our session co-organizers, our collaborators, and most especially the Secretariat of the UN Working Group on Business and Human Rights for their commitment and dedication, without which this year's forum would not have been possible. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I wish you fruitful deliberation and hope that this year's forum will serve as a catalyst for effective change in the implementation of the UNGPs worldwide. I thank you very much.